Hi, this is Laura Whitmore with the She Rocks podcast, and I'm here today talking to bass player, producer, songwriter, an amazing person all around, Divinity Roxx. Hey,
Hey,
Divinity.
hey,
Hey, how the heck are you?
I am well. I'm well as can be. The sun is shining. Spring is still here.
That's right. That's how I judge it. I'm like, the sun's out. It's okay. Life's okay. It's the best I can do right now. I'll take it. So before we started recording, you told me that you were working on like a research project. Is that like, what are you working on? What are you doing? Are you learning? Are you growing?
I'm always learning and growing, or at least trying my best to do that. I'm currently in line. I'm currently in school online.
Oh,
at
cool.
Berkeley online. Yeah, so I am in the last year of my degree program, the interdisciplinary program. My focus has mainly been music business and music production. And what's really funny is that I'm sitting here researching music licensing societies internationally.
Huh.
So for a music licensing class. What's funny about this class for me is that I wasn't supposed to take this class this semester. I had enrolled in a piano class and went out, rode my bike, and fractured my wrist and my elbow and had to drop the piano class because I couldn't play. And this class was already on my radar, this music licensing class. But I wasn't going to take it this semester because I thought this would be great. I'm home. I'll just take this piano class, get it over with. But I'm really excited about this music licensing class because it has inspired me in so many ways to get my publishing and my licensing stuff together with my catalog.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool.
That's cool.
It just happens that way sometimes.
See, isn't it good when you learn something and then you can immediately apply it to the real world?
That's what I love about this program I'm in at Berkeley. And I don't want to make this a Berkeley on my commercial, but really, honestly, right. Go to Berkeley. No,
go to Berkeley.
Seriously, I have to tell you this. Ever since my first class, I was immediately able to apply everything I was learning to my life in real time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's the way it's kind of been set up, especially with this music licensing stuff, because we're sitting around, we've been sitting at home for a couple of months now.
Right.
And this can be really detailed, going through all of the songwriting contracts I have and getting everybody's PRO numbers and putting all the information into a spreadsheet and,
all the stuff nobody wants to do, but you have to.
Yes. And all the stuff I haven't done, I haven't done it. But I mean, what better time to do those types of things than now?
Yeah, for sure. So wait, back up a second. So what did you break?
I fractured my left wrist and my left elbow. I went out for a bike ride. I was on this part of the street that was really gnarly and just fell really hard off my bike. Thank God I had a helmet on.
Yeah.
I haven't fallen off of a bike in I don't know how long, but it was a bad spill. So I didn't play bass or anything for about 6 weeks.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I'm about guess it's been about 8 weeks now, so I've started to play.
Okay. Well, it's kind of good you weren't touring, right? So if you're going to break your wrist, now's the time.
Yes.
If that was what the universe was going to send your way, like, okay. Yikes.
I'll take it. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's crazy. But you have more recently been doing some musical projects, right? Can you share a little bit about what's been happening?
Yeah, it's funny, man. I've been doing so much since we've been on this quarantine.
Yeah.
Let's see. One of the first things, actually, the day that I fractured my wrist, I played on this COVID-19 video that was put together by this educational program called Musology. And the video featured a good friend of mine, Juno, who's an incredible guitar player. It was basically like a PSA about stay at home, okay. But the bass was funky on that. I really enjoyed that. But one of the other things that I just recently released was a song called Higher with some really good friends of mine. We played in the Beyonce band together, her first incarnation of her all-female band. Yeah. We call ourselves the OGs. Yeah, we call ourselves the OGs. We went to San Francisco and recorded at the Women's Audio Mission studio out there with Terry.
Cool. Awesome.
Super dope. Yeah, Terry is also a
love them. We love Terry and the Women's Audio Mission and Berkeley.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, like everybody. Yeah. So we're like, we're the
They're all good.
Right? Yeah, so we recorded a record out there and we released it on Bandcamp, Spotify, all the digital digital outlets where you can, stream and buy music. But one of the really cool things I love about this project is we partnered with Plug-in Alliance to offer up the stems from the session to young engineers, producers all over the world so that they can remix the record using Plug-in Alliance's plugins.
That's so cool.
And we just launched. Yeah, so it's super cool. I'm excited about that.
So is that still up online where people can do that, can access that?
Yep. Yeah. It just went up a couple of days ago on Plug-in Alliance's website. Yeah, Eric Rossi mixed the record, did an incredible job. I mean, the recording of these stems, the women at Women's Audio Mission know what they're doing.
For sure.
These stems sound great. So if you get an opportunity to go to the Plug-in Alliance website, download the stems, and we'd love to hear your take on Higher.
Ooh, fun. That's pretty awesome. And you just played, was it a benefit for the Apollo, or what was that project that you just did?
Yeah, it was a benefit for the Apollo Theater. Together at Home was the name of the program. They had some heavy hitters. The song I played on was "Papa Was a Rolling Stone," classic,
I like that
Motown.
Song. Yeah.
Yes, Ray Chu was the musical director. Vernon Reed played on it. Michael McDonald sang on the record.
Wow.
Yeah,
you were in good company.
Dude, it's
excellent.
Pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
That's awesome. So have you found that, I guess you're probably your brain is very occupied with school, with learning, but have you found that you've been able to be creative in these days, in these crazy days?
I've had some pretty cool creative days, especially before I fractured my wrist.
Yeah.
I was playing a lot. I'm working on an album. I sent a couple of songs that I recorded out to some collaborators to have them help me out on some records. One of the things my wife did for me was she gifted me the Masterclass. That Masterclass series you can see the commercials for when you're on YouTube. So I started Timbaland's Masterclass. I was so excited about that because I've been seeing the commercials for so long and I've never done it. But I started it and it just inspired me to really get in and do some work. So I found that something like that really inspired me to create. So I put it together with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. It is interesting, how much more accepted, just even in these last couple months, all this online, collaboration and learning and performing and, it has become, it's maybe it's all those things that were on our radar that we just never had a minute to try it out and make it happen.
Yeah, so. People have been saying for years that independent artists were going to make their money. They were going to have this stream of income come from online performances, and nobody. Some people did well with it. Some people tried it. It didn't really work out. but we were all forced to go online and try to monetize it in some way, shape, or form.
It's like, okay, what did they say about the mother of invention? What is it? What is the phrase? Like, necessity is the mother of invention, or something like that. We had to do it. It was like, do it, or you're stuck in your home by yourself and nothing going on. So here we go. Here we are. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, like, you went out and you marched this weekend, right?
Yes. My little town of West New York had a really, really great march. My wife's little cousins called us up and asked us if we wanted to go with them, and we were already planning on going. So we all went out and exercised our right as Americans to protest and to encourage and affect change.
Yeah, that's great. What was your experience like? Were people, were people thoughtful? Were they distancing? Like, how was it?
It's funny because my wife and I, that was our first time getting out in the world, and that's interesting. The first thing we did was, after being at home with COVID, was get out and exercise our right to protest.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of powerful. People who really got out to do that. We were all safe. There was not much distancing. We walked about 80 blocks. We walked with the mayor of our town, which was great. We walked with the mayors of most of the towns that we went through. But everybody was pretty much covering their mouths and noses. We all wore masks as we walked. But there were people from all backgrounds, all races, all ages. It was beautiful for me to see the young generation. The young woman who put it together reminded me of my 20-year-old self.
Yeah.
On Sproul Hall at Berkeley, screaming, protesting back in the day. So it was something I hadn't done in a long time, and that my wife and I really felt compelled to do. Yeah. To join in the millions of people who want to see change.
I mean, it is so inspiring to see everybody, stepping out and stepping up, to talk about it, marching, but also even like online companies, making change and speaking out. And I just wanted to ask you, like, I've seen some things that I wanted to ask you about, including Republic Records saying that they weren't going to call their anything urban anymore. And I was wondering what you thought about that.
Wow. I didn't see that. You know what? I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because urban has always been the code word for Black.
Yeah. That's right. And they were there's got to be a better way to talk about music than urban, So I thought that was interesting. And I saw no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I saw, I can't remember her name. Your friend at Atlantic was posting about it as well. Ebony, hoping that they would follow suit,
I think it's important, I think it's important that we all, I keep saying that if we come out of this time that we've had at home, if we come out of this the same way that we went in, then we've missed out on an incredible opportunity that the entire world has had to evolve themselves. And that that can mean you personally, that can mean us as a community, that can mean us as human beings, that can mean, when this first happened, one of the most compelling tells was watching satellite footage of pollution go away.
Right.
Watching the rivers in Italy clear out. Watching the skies in India turn blue. That was really that was compelling. It spoke to the damage that we do to the earth. And when you think about that type of damage. You got to think about the damage that we do to each other as well. It's not out of context. So everybody has had an opportunity in the past few weeks to reflect on the role that they've played in keeping the status quo.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think, it's interesting because we are, more at home, and maybe, a lot of people aren't engaging in like the things that they would have done in the past. Like our focus is different. We're able to focus on an issue like this with a lot more fervor, I think, like than, if we were all having to continue to like rush around and travel all over the planet and do all the things that, we were doing before. So I'm with you. I think that, we should take this time and use it to the best of our opportunity and ability, and, further ourselves as individuals and as a collective, society. So I'm proud of all the people that are stepping up, and I really fervently hope that actual change happens from it. It actually seems like it will this time. I mean, do you feel like sometimes I feel so heartbroken because you see like, these mass shootings and people step up and then nothing happens. It's so like frustrating and sad.
It is frustrating. We don't change doesn't happen all at once.
Yeah.
There has to be small shifts that eventually lead to a big change, to a larger
like a
shift.
tipping point, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I think that we are all experiencing these small shifts.
Yeah.
We're having conversations that we've never had before. People are thinking about things that they've never thought about before. I mean, I know that all of my friends, especially all of my Black friends, are really overwhelmed by what's happening in this country and the response of people and companies, and like they're people, like we've had those phone calls from our white friends and from family members, who are like, hey, I'm just checking in, and that's a little bit, it can be a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It is. It's because it's weird. It's coming, you're like, what, and then there's, a group of people who feel like, well, why now? What is it about now?
Yeah.
They're so frustrated with what has been going on that they don't believe it, and I'm a little skeptical of some of the companies who have jumped on the bandwagon to release some sort of statement. But what is a statement, if you aren't actually implementing some sort of action behind it? And I've had a friend of mine, one of my friends just hit us up and said that she responded to one of those statements, I guess, from a company she was working with or for. And I guess she had something to say about whatever their statement was. And they reached back out to her and said, we'd actually like for you to head up a committee.
Yeah.
And help us with this. And she was like, oh, dang, now, oh my goodness. Like, okay.
She's like, oh shit, now I'm on a committee.
Yeah, now I've got to start being the head of this committee, But
I mean, I think that's valid because, like, okay, like my company, I said the same thing. It's like, yes, I would like to release a statement, but I also want to create like some kind of task force because I don't want to be like all of the men who make decisions for women without women being in the room. I don't want to do that about people of color and about what their concerns are and what's happening in the world. Like, they should be part of the conversation. We should be part of the conversation. It should be everybody. So, I understand like a company responding in that way because like that's the right thing to do is, include everyone in the conversation.
Yeah. And I think
but
that,
she's like, okay, now she's doing it. She can't say no.
Okay. He's like, well, I guess I'm heading up this committee now, guys.
Yeah.
And we're And, it's a joke and we're laughing, but we're all supporting her.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that.
By the way, do you want to be on a committee? No, just kidding.
Listen.
You're already on my board. What can I say?
No. I do think that there has to be some kind of balance in this, because it can't fall on all the Black people.
Oh no, I completely agree
head
with
up
you.
Committees and start to say like that's.
That's not right.
We have to share in this responsibility.
Yes.
Like there are just some obvious, or some things that to us as Black people seem pretty damn obvious.
Yeah.
That can be done.
Right.
Like one of the things that I find compelling is most of these companies who release these statements have all white boards and all white executives.
Yeah.
So the first thing that they need to be doing is figuring out how they can incorporate more Black people into the decision making positions in companies and corporations. It's frustrating to me, recently, especially in these Berkeley classes, I'm looking up licensing companies, and I'm looking up some of the more popular licensing companies that license music and have relationships with TV shows and film companies and producers. And as I look through, a lot of them will have like, this is our staff. And I look through all the pictures and I was like, wow, there are no Black people.
Yeah. I mean,
there's not one Black person, but they're licensing Black music to all these people and places and things. And then we look and we say, okay, how come Black music sounds like this? How come popular Black music sounds like this? How come there's not much diversity in what we're hearing? Mm-hmm. And then I look at a staff like that and say, that's why.
Right.
Because those are the people making decisions. But if you had a Black person in the room who would probably say, hey guys, that's not probably the best song for you in this situation.
Well, it's,
like that's not how.
Yeah, adding different experience to like the decision making. I it's funny. I did a maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. I was on a panel at NAMM for the Guitar Manufacturers Association, and I said the same thing. I was literally like, look at this room. There's not one Black person in this room. Like how are you going to, expand your business and like incorporate more people's thoughts if you're not going to diversify? Like the musical instrument business is terrible with diversity too.
It is.
Yeah. But we have hope.
So there's a lot of work to do, and like I said, it's not going to be huge. There's not going to be a huge change, but the shifts, the small shifts, are what I'm counting on, or what I'm hoping for. Yeah.
I mean,
small realizations.
Right. Small shifts are better than no shifts. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have that conversation with my friends too, who are frustrated with some of the things that they're seeing, and I'm like, listen, guys, we have to be able to give grace as people try to figure out how to talk about this, how to address it. You have a younger generation. I really liked one of the things that Reverend Al Sharpton said, and I'm not like a big fan of Reverend Al Sharpton. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's some things about him that get on my nerves, and there's some things about him that I really like. But one of the things I liked that he said at George Floyd's funeral, he said one of the last times I was in this town, I was marching, and a young white girl looked at me and called me the N-word. Mm-hmm. He said, and I was recently just in this town for this service, and a young white woman looked at me and said, "Power to the people. We have the power to change," or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. I don't remember exactly what she said. And he said that made me feel like we're going to be all right.
Yeah.
Because in a short period of time, relatively short period of time, there's been a shift in the way younger people think about race. Yeah. They don't think about race the same way their parents did. Right. I know my nephew doesn't think about race the way that my sister and I do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He does not get it at all. And he's a young Black man. Yeah. And it's a little bit, for me, it's a little scary that he doesn't get it. because the world hasn't evolved the way he's evolved just yet.
I think you're right, though. I mean, especially when I talk to the young people that I know, and most of the young people I know are like teenagers or young adults, and they definitely have a different perspective than like their parents or their parents' parents. So, you know, a lot of them are out there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Barack always says it. We got to look at, you know, the younger generation is who we're rooting for.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah,
it's really true.
Yeah. Well, I'm cautiously optimistic about, I mean, I'm like that about everything, you know, when we talk about like, you know, gender diversity and getting more women in the room and everything, I'm always cautiously optimistic about that too. You know, people are like, oh, it's changed, we're better. I'm like, no, we're getting there, but
we are getting there.
We're getting there. I definitely have seen positive change in the last 8 years or so that we've been doing the women, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So on another topic, we announced we opened nominations for the She Rocks Awards, but we have no idea what we're going to do for the She Rocks Awards.
Yeah, I saw that.
We'll see. I was like, well, there should still be a She Rocks Awards in whatever form that takes. So I don't know if we'll have a virtual house band of some sort. We'll have to see.
Wow. Well, like Saturday Night Live has a virtual house band, right?
That's right. Hey, maybe we could do that. We'll figure it out. We'll have something. We'll have something happen because, you know, the show must go on, as they say. But,
well, yeah. I mean, I don't expect that there will be a NAMM this year.
I don't either. I mean, I obviously they haven't said anything yet, but I'd be very surprised if there's.
Yeah, you know, COVID was at NAMM. You know what I mean? When you think about it.
Yeah, I think COVID was at NAMM as well.
COVID was definitely at NAMM.
I know a bunch of people who got pretty sick after, although maybe not deathly ill or anything, but.
Yeah. I know. You know, normally people get sick after NAMM anyway because there's NAMM thrax.
Yeah.
But I think there was a little NAMM thrax mixed with a little COVID-19 this year. There were some people who felt like they were sick in a way they'd never been sick before. I talked to a few people after, and it's interesting because around that time we were starting to hear a little bit about the virus making its way to the United States. And I remember talking to a rep who came in from Singapore or somewhere like that. And I remember, you know, at NAMM, what do you go, you shake people's hands.
Oh, yeah.
And you just talk.
And it was packed.
And after, it was packed. So after talking to him, I remember thinking, I'm going to go to the bathroom and wash my hands.
Go wash my hands. Good idea.
Because I don't want to get sick. I got lucky, though, because I got out of there pretty early before it got too packed. I left early Saturday morning. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what I was doing. I was so busy. I don't think I was in the throngs of people all that much. But knock on wood, I did not get sick after NAMM this year. So. Well, they were talking about how they thought it was at the Grammys too, because a bunch of people got sick after the Grammys. So, who knows?
Sure. Who knows? I actually went and got on a cruise ship after NAMM.
Oh, that's right.
That's what I.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I had to go to.
That's right.
I don't even remember where we were. Somewhere in the Caribbean with Fantasia. We jumped on a cruise ship.
That's right.
Played the show and jumped right off the next morning.
Oh, it was a short cruise. Shortest cruise ever.
Yeah, it was super short. Shortest cruise ever. It was my first time, honestly. I'd never been on a cruise before.
I actually really enjoy cruising, but I probably won't go on one for quite a while after this. But
yeah, I don't think many people are gonna do that for a while.
I was supposed to go to Greece like in 2 weeks. I had planned for 2 years this trip to Greece, and then of course I canceled everything. So
yeah, we were gonna do our honeymoon.
Yeah,
we were going to South America. We had to cancel the honeymoon.
Yeah, wow.
Till next year.
Next year. Yeah, it's been a weird year for sure. I know the planets are all like in bizarre alignments too, so it's probably not going to be ending anytime soon. But
no, I don't suspect it. But I feel like something about this. We need this as human beings. Yeah. We need it. It's been a tough time for a lot of people. I certainly I've been fortunate in that I haven't had anybody in my family pass from any. Oh, sorry, my earphones came out. I didn't have anybody in my family get really sick or pass away, but I've had some friends who've had family members pass away from the virus and family members who have been really sick.
I have had friends whose family members have passed away too, and relatives who have gotten really sick but made it through. It's been a very unsettling time, let's say. Yeah, super surreal. But like you, I am trying to bring the positive into my world. I mean, I will say I never expected to spend this much time with my kids at this time in their lives.
Everybody's been saying that.
And I'm a really good cook now. So there you go. And I planted a garden, vegetable garden.
Oh, nice. Yes. I love it.
So,
yeah. Yeah, my wife and I have been cooking. I've made banana bread 3 times from scratch.
Yeah. See that?
Yeah, I mean, I like to cook anyway, so it's been great. We've been having some really fun meals.
I find cooking I was telling Brad this the other day, that when you cook something, it's kind of like writing a song or like painting a painting. Like when you're done with it, like you made that thing from, raw ingredients, and then you made it into something wonderful, and like you can sit back for just a minute and think like, I made that. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like a quick little creativity thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's so much around food. It's nourishing. Yeah. I always say that my grandmother feeds us her love through her cooking.
That's right. Yeah. Great. I try to experiment. Like I had planted some herbs and I had a ton of mint. So I'm like, what can I cook with mint that isn't like a dessert? So I made this like rice with mint. It was the most delicious thing ever. So everybody has to eat my experiments.
Of course. Well, they're living in your house.
That's it. They're living in my house. You're eating whatever I make. And it's going to be an experiment, But anyhow, well, it was so great to connect with you, Divinity, and say hello and find out what's up with you. So is there anything else coming up you'd like people to know? Where can they check in about what's happening with you?
You can check in at divinityroxx.com. That's DIVINITYROXX. If you're interested, I have a Patreon account. You can support my music, my writings on Patreon. I'm currently working on a one-woman show / album, stage, like incredibleness. Called The Ballad of Debbie Walker.
Oh, cool.
It's really the origin stories of the superhero Divinity Roxx. I recorded a lot of great music at Zoo Labs in Oakland.
Yeah.
While I was, so that's how I ended up going over to San Francisco to Women's Audio Mission. But Zoo Labs has an incredible program where they support independent artists with grants, studio grants, as well as business classes on how to market, promote, and get your music out there. So I am a Zoo Labs alum. I've gotten some really great music recorded. Haven't shared it with anybody yet. As I put together the accompanying show, the one-woman show, where I'll probably be spitting some poetry and some rhymes and playing bass, and there'll be a band, and I'll kind of tell the story of how Divinity Roxx became.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait to see that. I guess you probably have no idea when that's going to be shared with the world.
No, no. Because I work on it in spurts.
Yeah.
I work on it as the inspiration hits. And somehow I have managed to become so busy. So school has taken up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
And because I'm so studious and it's really ridiculous, I dive in so deeply and I love what I'm learning. I give it a lot of time. Mm-hmm. So this summer, I'm going to take the summer off to focus on writing and creating.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Awesome. Well,
yes.
We'll check in with you again when that's ready to be shared with the world.
And, I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait. I want to know about how the legend of Divinity Roxx was born and formed and became fully formed. All right, Divinity.
We're still forming. We're still evolving.
We always are, right? All right.
Yes.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time. It was great to chat with you.
Thank you. You too.
All
Talk
right,
soon.
take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. You too. Bye-bye.